Yeah, so Surly actually started as a brewery in 2006 by Omar Ansari, who is our current president, and Todd Haug, who was the head brewmaster at the time. Yeah, and from there, I mean, just two individuals that loved craft beer and wanted to do a brewery. Like Omar wanted to really start a brewery. His parents had an abrasive factory, so they just made grinding wheels, sanding discs, and stuff like that. And eventually the brewery kind of took over the abrasive factory, and that's how we have our double IPA called Abrasive, as kind of a toss back to that. So and it just kind of grew from there. Yeah, it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then we had Surly Darkness Day since 2007, where we'd have metal bands come and play every year. It used to be on Halloween, but now we kind of moved it up a little bit.
Hey, what's up, Vox&Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians, talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. I hope you had an amazing week. I most certainly did. Before we jump into today's episode, I'd just like to ask you to follow the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I would love for you to tell a friend about the podcast. If there's someone in your life that just loves extreme metal and happens to also enjoy craft beers, well, you should definitely let them know that the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast exists. You can tell them that there are over 480 episodes where I sit down with some of the world's best metal musicians, and we talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you would encourage one of your craft beer-loving metalhead friends to become a brand new Vox&Hops head, that would be something that I would truly appreciate. Now, today on the podcast, I'm very stoked to be with Josh Lemke of Surly Brewing. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox&Hops episode number 485.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
What's up, everyone? Today I'm very stoked to be with Josh Lemke. We are at Surly Brewing in the Twin Cities, people, Minneapolis, specifically, sort of close to St. Paul, but last time I was here, you said we were more close to the Minneapolis side. Am I right there?
Well, kind of right on the border of Minneapolis and St. Paul, which is pretty cool. Like, we can get to both out,
which is what I'm lucky, because I came through in the summer with Death to All. We played St. Paul. Tonight I'm here with Carnifex in Minneapolis, and I was like, I have to come back. And I hit you up, you hit me up. Here we are recording.
It's right down the street.
Hell yes. What are you drinking? What are we drinking?
I am drinking the Deathwestern, which is our Dark Czech Lager, which is Surly's collaboration with Trve Brewing.
Hell yes.
So yeah, it's fantastic.
4.5%. One of my favorite. I'm drinking your Octoberfest, which is nice and light,
nice and crisp.
Delicious.
'Tis the season.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
That's really quiet. Take me back to your first beer. Remember the first beer you ever drank, Josh?
Oh, that's many years ago. My first beer I ever drank, or my first legal beer I ever drank?
The first experience with beer is where.
My first experience actually with craft beer was I was out actually in Utah skiing with my dad.
Really?
Yeah. So probably, God, I don't even know how long ago it was anymore. But yeah, it was a Cutthroat Pale Ale out in Utah.
Straight to the hops.
Yep, just straight to the hops.
That's awesome.
That was just like, wow, this is incredible. And
before that, you had normal natty lights, and
that was after all that. But yeah, no, that was my first real, like, okay, like this
could be something.
This could be something. And obviously came back to Minnesota after that ski trip, and then I was like, whoa, there's just amazing beers here. Like, we got amazing breweries like Summit and Town Hall, and a lot of those breweries here in Minnesota that are just classics. Like,
hell yes.
So yeah, those are really kind of paved my way for craft beer.
Talk to me about when you were growing up, discovering music, because Surly is definitely a metal-based brewery, and you fit in here very well. So talk to me about your early musical discoveries.
Well, I think for a lot of people, like myself, my early first discoveries, I mean, it was all across the board. Like, my dad was into folk music. My cousin was into more of like the punk hardcore side of things. And then, just growing up in Minnesota, there were some great like radio stations at the time. So I used to stay up all night listening to those.
Really?
Listening to music.
That's awesome.
Which, my parents probably weren't the most fond
Did you
of,
have
just because
headphones?
it's just like blaring music at midnight, 1 a.m. when I'm
no headphones.
No headphones,
Good parents. They bring you
great parents,
skiing. They give you a craft
10,
beer.
11, 12, that age.
They put up with you listening to loud music all night.
Yeah, my first albums like that, I remember my mom taking me by were like the classics, like Metallica's Ride the Lightning and Motley Crue albums and stuff like that. And from there, it just kind of exploded.
Did you ever play music? Did you?
I dabbled, but not really.
Okay. What instrument were you gravitating towards?
Sung for hardcore bands.
Okay.
nothing notable, but just like local stuff, just to kind of mess around with friends and have a good time more than anything.
Hell, fucking yeah!
So it was a blast.
I also know you're a visual artist as well.
I do a lot of mural painting.
Exactly, which is talk to me about that. At what point does it stem from graffitiing as a kid, or?
So, I got into it many, many years ago, basically in high school, even before, obviously graffiti was a thing back then in the 90s, but it's not, widely accepted like it is now.
No, totally not. No.
So, and I always more had an art background, so I did a lot of art. I went to art school.
Really?
And so from that, I just kind of took on graffiti or aerosol art and actually went more of the art route instead of the graffiti route and started painting murals and large scale art productions and stuff like that. And
those are so impressive, just the scope of it and how you in your mind can deconstruct your idea of what you're going to put out there and then paint it just so big. I'm baffled by it.
I baffle myself by it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of planning and
it's like
visualizing.
Grid out.
When I did it, I didn't grid anything out.
Wow.
A lot of it was just freehand. Did a lot of freehand. So a lot of it was paint a little bit, step back, look at it, paint some more, step back, look at it, and a lot of planning too.
Yes, and it's a nice translation to life. That sometimes in life you have to step back.
You got to step back
to see
look
the full
at the bigger picture.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Cool parents that they gave you your first beer. They let you listen to loud music. They sent you to art school, which is not an easy thing to.
Not back then, especially for a guy that was doing a lot of art with aerosol. It wasn't really. It was really looked down upon, and I took a lot of heat for it. Dropped out of college. At one point because of it.
That people weren't taking.
They weren't taking it seriously.
Yeah,
exactly. They weren't taking it seriously.
That is frustrating.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. And
is it because when you go to school, you have to sort of jump through the hoops and do everything? They wouldn't let you just use your art.
Yeah, they were like, no, you gotta paint fine art for this or do this
because you don't know anything.
Yeah. And especially back then, it was like really, aerosol art was frowned down upon because they're like, that's not an art medium, and you're like.
Craziest story of trying to get away from someone? You must have a few. Without putting yourself into
that's for a different time. But no, like I said, I did a lot of it was more focused towards art and really focusing on that. And but from that, that took me actually how I started at Surly Brewing here was a buddy of mine and I got involved and actually. Cold called the owner and we're like, hey dude, we're artists, we want to paint a mural.
Wow.
And he was like really for it, which was cool back then. We got paid in beer, which is awesome.
Great for them and good for you.
Yeah, we got cases of beer, freshly packaged beer, which is cool. And then from then I got to know Todd Haug, who is formerly the brewmaster at Surly, and then he went on to Three Floyds and then has moved on beyond that. But got to really know him. He became really good friends with him and was basically just like, hey dude, I need a job. And he took me on.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So what was your first job here at Surly after you got paid in beer to paint a mural?
Well, my first job at Surly. So I did a lot of volunteering here. I'd volunteer at our events like Darkness Day, Surly Fest, Surly Gives a Damn, which is our volunteering organization. So I helped out with them a lot and just got to know folks. And then, Todd and I were at a show. Don't exactly remember. I think it was we were seeing Niall play. And I was just like, hey, dude, I need a job. Like I was working at a sign company, and wasn't really happy there, and I just wanted more of a career change. And Todd's like, well, here's what we can do for you. You're basically just gonna be cleaning stuff. And I was
brew
like,
house.
in the brewery
Right away.
Yeah. And I was just like, all right, let's do this. I'm game. And from there, like, you know, Todd took me under his wing and showed me a lot of stuff, and I just continued to grow in my roles here. And that was just over 11 years ago.
Holy shit. Okay.
So,
well, cheers to that. Cheers to cold calling people.
Yeah.
You got it.
And rad friends that play metal and love beer.
Hell yes. I give everyone like the history rundown of Surly in case they don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, so Surly actually started as a brewery in 2006 by Omar Ansari, who is our current president, and Todd Haug, who was the head brewmaster at the time. And from there, I mean, just two individuals that loved craft beer and wanted to do a brewery. Like Omar wanted to really start a brewery. His parents had an abrasive factory, so they just made grinding wheels, sanding discs, and stuff like that. And eventually, the brewery kind of took over the abrasive factory, and that's how we have our double IPA called Abrasive. It's kind of a toss back to that. So, and it just kind of grew from there. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And then, we had Surly Darkness Day since 2007, where we'd have metal bands come and play every year. It used to be on Halloween, but now we kind of moved it up a little bit. But
for the weather, and it's hard to compete with Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, the first years it was snowing, it's cold. I mean, I remember Darkness Days.
Who are that you've had in the past?
We've had Carcass one year as a headliner.
Sick.
Goat Horse played. Pelicans played. Toxic Holocaust played. Chemist has played. Like, shout out to them because they're the only band to play every venue that Darkness Day's been at. So they're like really great guys, great friends. Mm-hmm. So they're super rad. We always keep bringing them back. But yeah, a lot of cool bands play. Maybe we'll get Cryptopsy to play some year.
I would definitely love to come play. When me and Chris came here last summer, we were blown away by the size of this place. Yeah. So how long has it been this big? Like, when you stepped in 11 years ago, was it at this volume of beer coming out? At the magnitude of it, it's a huge, huge facility.
Yeah. So this facility that we're actually sitting in right now, we're actually on our 10-year anniversary. So it's been around for a while, just a lot of production stuff. The other facility that I oversee is become more of our R&D facility for doing small batch stuff, and
which is exciting.
Yeah, which is really exciting. A lot of fun. Like, Darkness comes out of there. All of our barrels come out of there. So
it's massive.
It's a playground. But
you have these like fermenters as you walk up to the building, and you see them just sticking out of the roof, and it's enormous. And then you go in, and the cones is all you can see inside the fermenter. And you mentioned last time that it takes 2 full brews to fill one of those.
It takes 6.
6 full brews.
6 full brews.
Wow.
We have a 100-barrel brew house, and then we have 18 600-barrel fermenters.
Wow. So it is very, very cool that you still have the experimental side system, because when you commit to making that size of a beer, it's got to be tried, trusted, and true. Talk to people about the beer styles that come out of here and the evolution of that, and then how you get to have a bit more fun with the experimental side.
Yeah, the fun, interesting, unique part about doing beer on this scale is the scale itself. It's just like trying to scale up recipes for that size, consistency, but also the quality and shelf stability, which we're really, really focused on, is the quality of product
and how long they can stay alive.
And how long it can stay alive, especially in the beer market now, because it's hard, because there's not a lot of cooler space. There's more, everyone's putting stuff on the floor.
Yeah.
So that's been a huge focus of ours, is shelf stability, and obviously the quality that comes with it. And that's, to me, is what's kind of fun, unique, and continue to kind of push the boundaries there and what we can do.
What is the secret there? Why? Because I know certain IPAs are good for like 3 months, let's say.
Yeah, I mean,
some people are even like, no, I like it after 3 weeks, and then it's not good anymore.
A lot of that's just due to oxidation in hops. what are so
it's
we
the hop
really
sellers that are telling us the myths.
Yeah, I mean, and stuff like that too. But we have a lot of cool, like, unique equipment in place here that allows us to focus. We have a centrifuge, and we also have what's called a crossflow filter. So a crossflow filter here actually will remove even finer particles, so that way we can extend our shelf life, which we have a full lab here too. So we do constant sensory and analysis on shelf stability and shelf life of our product. And so we're always kind of moving that shelf life out to extend it to hopefully continue to get great beer out to people.
Hell yes. So Surly is metal. The beers are also a little edgy, but they're still a little bit classic at the same time because it's been around for so long. What's the decision there? Is it just because the brewery has existed for that long that they have flagship styles?
Really. It's because we've been around for so long. Yeah. But at the time, too, with Omar and Todd, I mean, there wasn't a lot of great beer in Minnesota at that time, especially craft beer. We had a lot of old archaic laws back then that prevented craft from really happening. And Surly was at the forefront of that. We actually changed the law in Minnesota. It's actually called the Surly Bill.
Really?
That's cool. Basically opened the floodgates for Minnesota craft beer to happen.
Okay, so every other brewery should be.
Yeah,
been taking a knee in respect.
Exactly. Like we, in order for us to open this facility that we're in now, the law needed to change. So that's what we did, is we changed the law so that way we could have this destination facility and have public come in and drink beer and have a tap room, because before that you either needed to be a brew pub or like a regional distributor.
There was no in between. Yeah.
There was no in between. There's no tap rooms.
That is the archaic prohibition laws.
Most
alcohol laws are still tied to regulations that came right after prohibition. So.
And it's
good for you to push forward and to get the Surly Bill passed. Speaking about other craft beer breweries from the area, how many people come here, learn here, and then hop out and then start their own endeavors?
I mean, it's hard to really say because there's no like metric that you can measure that by, but I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, I've personally trained a lot of local brewers that have gone on to open their own breweries, and
because it's such a learning facility here, is a perfect place to learn something.
I mean, especially here or our R&D facility. I mean, especially our R&D facility is really, it was kind of how I always viewed it, as a training ground for brewers to start. It's fully manual. It's a lot of work. Here it's more automated. Pushing the boundaries of technology, and
super interesting.
So it's the dichotomy of all that's really kind of unique.
Plus, if it's like you're doing the research, the R&D, the experimental section that you're in, there's less of a risk financially.
Yes,
if something goes wrong.
A lot of risk and finances tied to a batch of beer here. If something goes wrong, it really goes wrong. It goes wrong quick.
What excites you in beer now? I'm feeling that there's a little bit of a dip in public interest with craft beer, but what keeps you still excited about it?
What's keeping me excited right now is honestly like what's coming back around are like
old school style,
like classic lagers. I don't know if people are just getting burnt out on big hoppy beers.
I know that myself when I'm on tour, I just can't even do it halfway.
Or even ABV, big ABV. I like having
low ABV,
and I can have a couple of beers and feel fine.
Correct. Still in complete control.
Yeah, in complete control. Yeah. So the beers we're drinking in Octoberfest, like the Deathwestern Dark Czech Lager, and we have a bunch of beers on tap right now that are low ABV just for that reason, because it's just like cool.
This is what interests you now.
Yeah.
That is exciting, and people will come back. It's always cyclical, right? So people come back to craft beer, get excited about it again.
When events like Darkness Day that we just had, that really kind of re-energizes myself and a lot of people too, because we're throwing this big event.
It's a huge event.
And that's a day to kind of just I've always thought this too, even when I was personally going to Darkness Day as a kind of a fan, and now I'm going to it because I make the beer and work here, and just to see people coming in the door and lining up for beers and just just having a great time with the experience.
Awesome.
That's what it's about.
I got to come through. We got to book Cryptopsy.
Heck yeah.
Next year.
Hell yeah. That'd be
Actually,
so
I have
much
an idea.
fun.
We can talk about this afterwards. You also have a massive outdoor venue affiliated to this, where like Tenacious D has played.
Yeah, we've actually partnered with First Avenue here in Minnesota to book a limited number of shows yearly at our outdoor venue, which is out back. To your point, we've had Tenacious D played. We've had Ween.
Yeah.
Ween was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they really just bring down the house. Yeah, we've had a lot of cool acts come through here on a larger scale.
There's an event you can rent out the space we're in right now, where people do weddings and conferences. Yeah. It's like Surly just has so much going on.
Yeah, our large location, our destination brewery here was built for experience. Mm-hmm.
You could tell.
It's downstairs. The main area is a full-on, beer hall. It's modeled after German dining beer halls.
Exactly.
We have the outdoor festival field space for the larger concerts. We have our outdoor front space patio,
nice.
Which is massive.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah. That's where Darkness Day was. So we put on smaller shows out there.
Super sick.
And then we have an event space up here, for weddings and
a pizzeria.
Corporate. And then we do have our pizza place too.
That makes amazing pizzas. Before that, you had mentioned to me though last time I was here, it was a fine dining experience.
It was.
And it had a beer pairing.
Yeah, I actually listened to your and Adam's podcast,
exactly.
and you guys gave me a shout out. So
exactly.
Shout out to Adam
Hell
as well.
Yes. So talk to me about that and that concept, and then how sadly it didn't work, and you chose to swap it into a pizzeria.
Yeah, it's such a unique concept and opportunity. So we had a finer dining place up here. It's actually called the Brewer's Table, and it was really focused on fine dining along with beer and food pairings. So every plate had a different pairing of beer with it. And so it allowed us to kind of be creative and allow for the chefs to be creative too. And this collaborative thing of beer and food, and how, the flavors or aromas, the sensory off of beer plays with the flavors and aromas and sensory off the food dishes that were being presented. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but when it was kind of rocking there, it was nominated for a James Beard.
Really? Okay.
So
that's super cool.
Yeah.
Though.
So the head chef at the time, Jorge Guzman, was really, really crushing it, and unfortunately, it didn't work out.
It just didn't work out. People's interest. It cost too much.
Yep. Yeah. It's just it was tough.
It was too ambitious of an idea. Maybe.
Yeah. Probably ahead of its time.
And then pizza.
And then, now we're into...
Beer and pizza just goes together.
Yeah.
It just works.
You can't mess with that. It's like the perfect harmonious combo.
You're drinking a collab. Talk to me about making collabs here. Is it something that happens often? This, on the experimental side, I imagine yes. But in the big batch system, it must be harder to get collabs rolling.
Yeah. It's a lot easier on the smaller systems. It takes a lot of planning. A lot of... Usually it's just over a bunch of us sitting down and having beer, but yeah, that's usually how it goes. And then we just start talking and kind of tossing out ideas. And someone's like, hey, what if we actually made a beer together? But yeah, it's fun. It's obviously harder on the big system. We have done larger scale collabs before. Like we did a collaboration with King Diamond.
Really?
Yeah.
That
was years ago. It was called Black Horseman after the song.
Super sick. What kind of beer was that?
That was a dark lager. That was delicious, and that was cool. Like the King, he played was like a month after we brewed it, so we got to go hang out with him and have the beer at the show. It was really cool.
I like ideas like that.
So that one took a lot of planning, but yeah, all this other stuff with Trve Brewing, we just did a collaboration with Revolution Brewing. Last year for Darkness Day, we did a collaboration with Pint House and Other Half. So a lot of it is planned out and kind of how it fits into releases that we can do too, whether it's Darkness Day or just something fun to do that we can put on tap at our beer hall.
That's sick. Do you travel to do R&D, to get around, to inspire yourself? I know a lot of Quebec brewers tend to do the pilgrimage to Czech Republic and Germany to understand it all, and then they come back to Quebec and then they're excited and they make all these inspired beers.
Yeah, not a whole lot. There used to be a lot more of that going on, but a lot of it is just going out to Yakima and,
sniffing the
hop selection out there.
Drinking Ungburger. What is it? What's those little bottles?
Underberg?
Underberg.
Yeah.
Drinking Underberg out there.
There's just a lot of cool stuff actually going on around us at all times too, even within the local scene. We know a lot of obviously brewers, but also like chefs and stuff like that too, where you can definitely get inspired by too when it's coming to flavors and aromas and stuff like that, which is it's a lot of fun. So there's this inspiration that comes from everywhere. So it's
hell
cool,
fucking yes.
Yeah, hopefully we can do maybe a Vox&Hops collab someday.
We'll definitely hit you up about that. We're going to keep hanging out, but not with you guys listening. Me and Josh are going to have a good time here.
Yeah, we got beers to drink.
We do. I appreciate my glass is empty, so.
Oh, then we definitely need to get you another one.
Massive cheers to you. Thank you for everything so far. We're going to keep hanging out, but not with you guys.
Yeah,
cheers.
Cheers, dude.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. Man, this was an awesome hang. I was really, really lucky to be able to go to Surly 2 times last year on the Death to All tour and then on the Carnifex tour. Josh is just such a awesome host. He took such good care of Christian and myself both times when we went there. Just amazing beers. Such a cool experience, Surly. The ambiance, the sheer size of it just blows my mind. And then the very cool pizza place upstairs, which has killer pizza. Massively stoked to have hung out with Josh, and I would love to hang out some more when I come back, hopefully later this year. Josh, you rule. I can't wait to hang out again. Let's collaborate. Let's do something. I'd be super excited about that. Massive, massive cheers. Go check out Surly Brewing, people, because it's freaking awesome. The Vox&Hops Metal Podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media and Evergreen Podcasts. I hope that you have a killer rest of the week. I will be back next week with another episode, but until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox&Hops heads.